On October 29, 1992, in Mount Vernon, Washington, Alicia Canales was born to Manuel and Michelle Canales. Her lifelong dedication to assisting others led her to pursue a career as a caregiver throughout much of her adult life. Growing up on a farm, Alicia developed a strong work ethic from an early age, beginning her labor at the tender age of 5. She frequently returned to the family farm to offer her support, as spending time with her family was of utmost importance to her. Alicia made it a priority to visit and call her loved ones regularly, always ensuring to convey her affection during farewells. Alicia resided in Bird's View with her husband, Brattle, in the home of her sister Amanda, who lived there with her 3 children. When Amanda had to travel to New York for work, she entrusted Alicia with the care of her children, a responsibility Alicia embraced wholeheartedly. One evening, while a nanny was staying in the house, she was startled awake by the sound of gunfire and promptly called 911. Upon descending the stairs, she discovered Alicia lying unresponsive at the front door. The first police officers to arrive secured the premises to confirm that the assailant was no longer inside. They meticulously searched each room, ensuring that only the nanny and the children were present. Once the children were safely evacuated from the house, the police initiated a search for evidence, discovering a vehicle parked outside with shell casings nearby, suggesting that the shooter had been positioned next to the car. Several bullets had struck the doorframe before the entrance, and Alicia's body was found face down just outside the door. The police discovered no evidence of a robbery, as the house remained undisturbed, suggesting that the assailant had not entered the premises. This left the detectives pondering the motive behind Alicia's murder. Upon learning that the crime scene was her sister's residence, they contemplated the possibility of mistaken identity. Perhaps Amanda, Alicia's sister, was the actual target, although she was in New York at the time. The investigators then turned their attention to the nanny, who had also been present during the shooting, seeking her insights. After she calmed down, she recounted that she was upstairs when she heard the gunfire and, upon looking down, saw Alicia motionless on the floor. Regrettably, she did not witness the shooter. She did mention that Amanda had experienced difficulties with her ex-husband, Kevin Lewis. A review of reports from the local sheriff's office revealed that this was not the first incident at the address, with prior calls linked to domestic disputes between Amanda and Kevin. The detectives concentrated on this testimony and located Kevin Lewis's residence in another area of Everett, where they visited him before dawn. His house was dark, and when they knocked, Kevin answered the door. During their discussion, the officers inquired about his ex-wife's whereabouts, to which he responded that she should be at home, appearing disheveled as if he had just woken up. Upon awakening, the detectives requested Kevin to explain his whereabouts from the previous night. He asserted that he had remained at home, claiming that both his sister and mother could confirm his alibi. Notably, he did not inquire about the reason for the detectives' visit. When informed that a shooting had taken place at the residence where his children lived, he exhibited no emotional reaction, which was atypical for a parent. He should have expressed concern for his children's safety, yet he chose to remain silent. However, upon learning that Amanda was out of town on business, he displayed surprise, exclaiming, "Really?" And the conversation concluded there. The detectives resolved to conduct a more thorough investigation by examining surveillance footage from nearby residences to corroborate Kevin's claim of having stayed home throughout the night. They observed the vehicle halting near Kevin's driveway approximately 40 minutes prior to the incident involving Alicia. A figure resembling Kevin exited the house, entered the vehicle, and drove away shortly thereafter. Although the footage lacked clarity sufficient to definitively identify the individual as Kevin, the detectives persisted in reviewing additional recordings. They scrutinized the vehicle but were unable to ascertain its identity, determining only that it was light-colored. Upon fast-forwarding the footage, they noted the car's return roughly 20 minutes later, during which they observed a significant detail: the front right rim differed from the others. While the remaining 3 rims were light in color, the front right rim was dark. The vehicle stopped near Kevin Lewis's residence, and the same individual who had exited the car earlier was seen again. A person exited the premises and re-entered shortly thereafter. This individual had entered the residence approximately 20 minutes prior to the onset of 911 calls reporting a shooting. Following this, the vehicle departed and has not returned. Given that the drive from Kevin's residence to Amanda's is about 15 minutes, it is conceivable that the vehicle could have reached Amanda's location in time. However, it remains premature to determine whether this vehicle was connected to the shooting incident. Amanda learned of her sister's death a few hours later when their father contacted her in New York to deliver the tragic news. When investigators questioned Amanda, a crucial witness, regarding her belief about her ex-husband Kevin's involvement in Alicia's murder, she firmly asserted that he was responsible. Despite the dissolution of her 8-year marriage to Kevin Lewis, Amanda found it challenging to confront the toxic dynamics of their relationship. Following their divorce in June 2017, she continued to live in fear of Kevin, who had previously subjected her to physical abuse, leaving her with visible injuries. After their separation, Kevin persisted in issuing threats. In August 2017, Amanda was awarded full custody of their 3 young children, and Kevin was mandated to pay $800 in monthly support, which was not designated as child support. This decision represented a new beginning for Amanda, who concentrated on rebuilding her life in Everett, Washington, and appreciated the support of her family as a single mother. Kevin, a former military personnel, made threats against Amanda's life, which she took seriously due to his training, leading her to believe she was in danger. Consequently, Amanda secured a restraining order against Kevin. However, he repeatedly violated this order, often lurking around her home. Amanda and her 3 children were not only terrified by the events unfolding through the windows, but they also faced the unsettling reality that Kevin had never been charged by the police, even weeks prior to her sister's tragic death. Amanda had suffered a brutal beating in her own driveway. She was exiting her vehicle late one night when she was unexpectedly attacked. Although the assault occurred swiftly and she did not see her assailant's face, Amanda firmly believed that Kevin was responsible. Investigators have identified 30-year-old Kevin Lewis as the primary suspect in Alicia's murder, suspecting that he intended to kill his ex-wife, unaware that she was in New York at the time. Unbeknownst to him, Amanda had requested Alicia to care for her children during her absence. However, this theory presents a complication. If Kevin was indeed the individual captured on surveillance footage, it would imply that he was at home during the shooting. Furthermore, his mother and sister have provided him with a credible alibi. Consequently, the police have continued their investigation, seeking alternative explanations for the crime. They returned to Amanda's residence to re-examine the crime scene and trace the trajectory of the bullets. The investigation indicated that Alicia was shot when the door was only partially ajar, with the shooter firing at least 7 shots from outside the house, which penetrated the interior. Evidence suggests that the shooter stood adjacent to the garage before moving towards the door to fire again. The medical examiner concluded that Alicia succumbed to multiple gunshot wounds to the head and torso, with 5 shots striking her, 2 of which exhibited signs of gunpowder residue. The examination indicated that the shots were fired at close range, although the precise sequence of the 5 shots could not be established. It is believed that the last 2 head wounds were likely the final injuries inflicted. Experts determined that the 7 shell casings recovered from the scene originated from the same firearm. Alicia's head injuries were attributed to close-range bullet impacts. Investigators considered the possibility of a personal motive for her murder but found no supporting evidence for this theory. The shell casings identified at the crime scene were of a rare Russian-made brand known as T ammo, which provided the police with a potential avenue to trace both the seller and the buyer. The investigation revealed that Walmart had sold 9mm T ammo cartridges and possessed CCTV footage of the transaction, which occurred 2 days prior to Alicia's death. Initially, Kevin Lewis was suspected as the purchaser. However, the footage showed a different individual who made the purchase using a credit card. Although the police identified this person, no connections were found linking them to Kevin Lewis, Alicia, or the nanny, necessitating the search for new leads and evidence. Amanda was interrogated by investigators regarding her relationship with Kevin. She disclosed that their relationship had begun positively but deteriorated over time, resulting in Kevin's aggressive and violent behavior, which ultimately led to their divorce, a restraining order, and Amanda obtaining full custody of their children. Despite this, Amanda believed she was the intended target of the shooting that claimed Alicia's life, rather than Alicia herself. She suspected that Lewis had orchestrated the attack. However, investigators confirmed that Kevin was at home during the time of the shooting. Upon reviewing the footage from the night of Alicia's death, investigators identified a detail they had previously missed. The low-quality recording depicted Kevin exiting his residence and entering the back seat of a vehicle, positioned behind the driver. This observation raised suspicions, as it is customary for individuals to occupy the front passenger seat. The most plausible explanation suggested that another person was already seated in the front, indicating that there were likely two individuals in the car when it arrived at Kevin's location. While this new evidence did not establish a direct connection between Kevin and Alicia's death, it added to the mounting case against him, particularly regarding his assault on his ex-wife Amanda in November 2018. Kevin was subsequently arrested and sentenced to 3 years in prison. Over a year had elapsed since Alicia's untimely demise, yet her case remained unresolved. A significant breakthrough occurred in 2019 when the police department received an important call from a woman possessing vital information. The caller recounted her encounter with a girl named Angelica at a party in Spokane, who allegedly boasted about being hired to commit a murder on York Road, the same location where Alicia was tragically shot. Although the police were initially doubtful due to the considerable distance of 5 hours between Spokane and Everett, the caller reported that Angelica had shared intricate details about her and her boyfriend's involvement in the crime. Angelica, also known as Alexis Hale, claimed that a woman was shot in the head, asserting that the killer had been hired by the children's father and had mistakenly targeted the wrong individual. The police were intrigued by her extensive knowledge of the incident. The investigation into her true identity revealed social media images of her holding a 9mm pistol, along with videos featuring her boyfriend, Jayden Phelps. A video posted by Alexis on the night of the murder enabled investigators to determine her location, which was approximately 10 minutes from Kevin Lewis's residence. Jayden had boasted about possessing a significant amount of money on social media, which led the police to uncover his connection to Kevin through his aunt. This evidence resulted in their arrest. The first individual taken into custody was Alexis Hale, who vociferously protested, asserting that she was only 17 and could not be arrested. Nevertheless, she was aware of the reasons for her arrest and requested legal representation. The police also apprehended Jayden Phelps, examining the phone records of both him and Hale, which indicated that they had traveled from Spokane to Everett to carry out the shooting. Security footage from neighbors of Lewis captured an individual in a white top leaving and returning around the time of the incident. Lewis himself was wearing a white top. When questioned, Phelps, while in custody, disclosed that Kevin Lewis had hired both him and Hale, guiding the police through the crime scene and indicating the door and corner where he had stood during the incident. He reenacted the events, admitting to firing at the door when it opened slightly and then discharging 2 additional shots before fleeing. At the time of his arrest, Kevin Lewis was already incarcerated for another crime and faced charges of aggravated murder with a firearm, conspiracy to commit murder, and solicitation to commit murder in relation to the death of Alicia in September 2017. In July 2020, 20-year-old Phelps entered a guilty plea for premeditated first-degree murder and received a sentence of a 31-year prison sentence was imposed on Phelps, while his co-defendant, 18-year-old Hale, also pleaded guilty to the same charge and received a 15-year sentence. During the trial, Phelps testified that he committed the crime for financial gain and to enhance his reputation in the streets. He utilized the funds provided by Lewis to acquire tattoos, purchase a pair of Timberland boots, and buy a Ferragamo belt buckle. Phelps asserted that his former girlfriend had procured the firearm used in the crime from a family member, for which he had given her $200. Lew, on the other hand, pleaded not guilty and was set to face trial. Prosecutors contended that he had paid $2,400 to his cousin and girlfriend to murder his ex-wife, but they mistakenly targeted Alicia Lewis instead. Lew directed them to the address, claiming ignorance of the intended target. Phelps and Hale exited their vehicle, with Phelps stopping near the garage while Hale knocked on the door. When Alicia opened the door, Phelps fired multiple shots, subsequently approaching the porch before they fled. They returned, concerned that they had left a glove behind, but upon seeing police, they drove away. Ultimately, Judge Thompson ordered Lewis to have no further contact with his ex-wife, his children, or Phelps and Hale for the remainder of his life. Records indicate that he remains incarcerated at the Washington State Penitentiary in Walla Walla County.